Attention outlet shoppers. Right now, save 50 to 70% off everything for the family at Gap Factory stores and online. With shorts from $14.99 and tees from $6.99. And save 50 to 70% off everything at Banana Republic Factory stores and online. With an extra 50% off clearance and dresses for women starting at $19.99. Hurry! Search our store locator for your nearest Gap Factory and Banana Republic Factory store or shop us online.
What NFC North breakout receiver might you want to pump the brakes on? Which mid-round running back is going to see his ADP spike soon? And which Buccaneers tight end do you want to own in 2017? Plus, Dave Strand, a player who has won more than $20,000 in his FFPC career, shares his expertise on cashing in early season draft expert leagues, whether Doug Martin is a bargain, and how many shares of Terrell Pryor he plans on investing in this year. We've got a great show for you. Dave Gerzak is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Thinking of a master plan. Cause ain't nothing but sweat inside my hands. So I dig into my pocket, all my money spent. So I get deeper, but still coming up for lint. So I start my mission, leave my residence. Thinking how could I get some dead presidents? I need money. I used to be a stick-up kid. So I think of all the devious things I did. 1, 2, 3, I used to roll up, this is a hole up. Ain't nothing funny, stop smiling, we still don't nothing move but the money. But now I learned that.
Broadcast live and heard around the world. You are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. It's the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for football analysis from the best fantasy players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak.
I don't like to dream about getting paid, so I dig into the books of the rhymes that I made.
Thanks a lot, Rob. Greetings and salutations, all you Balkaholics and Gerzak addicts. Happy Memorial Day weekend, and welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com right here on the Fantasy Sports Radio Network. I'm your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman, and my co-host is indeed the patron saint of fantasy football. He is the Dizzle. He is Dave Gerzak. Coming up on tonight's show, what young Dolphins receiver might be on his way out in Miami and on your dynasty teams, and where we stand on Mike Wallace. Plus, Dave Strand hangs out with us to talk about how he has won more than $20,000 in the FFPC, why he thinks Todd Gurley is in for a bounce-back season, and much more. Shout out to the chat room right now. If you guys have any questions, post them in there. If you want to connect with us on Twitter, the show is at HSFF Hour. I am at Eric Balkman. Dave is at David Gerzak. You can post on our Facebook page at facebook.com/HSFF Hour. If you want to chime in and talk with us, give us a call, 347-426-3682. That's 347-GAME-OVA. You can also email the show at the inbox at highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. If you have any questions for us, the time is now to send them. We'll try to get to all the chat room questions, tweets, and emails later on in the fantasy feedback segment of the show. Our producer, mutual friend Rob, and our audio engineer Bryce working very hard tonight to get those questions to us. Working on a holiday weekend. Everybody's working for the weekend, and we get an extra day this weekend, Dave.
Yep, that's right, lover boy.
Yeah, Monday is going to be great. We'll have that day off. Well, because it's Memorial Day.
Oh, okay.
Barbecue, family.
Are you going to do any of that?
I'll probably do a barbecue. I don't know if my family's going to be there. No, we'll do both that day. Actually, my brother-in-law and his wife are on vacation in Arizona, so we're actually watching their kids, my nephews, this week. So a lot of kids on Monday. It'll be a lot of fun.
Sounds like a blast.
How was dinner tonight?
Dinner was pretty, it was okay.
Had some fondue. Went to the local fondue eatery here,
yeah,
I saw.
The melting pot.
Yeah.
Of course, every time. Oh, what's the occasion?
Oh, it's so terrible.
I'm hungry.
Yeah.
You know, just because I'm at this 2-hour, 4-course stupid ordeal.
Right, yeah.
Means it has to be a special occasion, which actually I do believe. That's why I don't want to go to it ever, because it takes so long.
Yeah.
It was fine.
What's the lowest class restaurant you've ever been? What's the occasion at?
Red Lobster.
I was going to say Red Lobster too. I can't think of a lower one. I think
we're going to like a Shakey's Pizza.
No, but you know what? I've had it at Red Robin before. When my wife and I went there, we're like, "What's the occasion?" I don't know. You guys have burgers here, right? Well, we're kind of hungry.
Noon, I'm hungry.
So terrible. Well, okay. Listen. big day big week for the FFPC because, of course, on the show a couple of weeks ago, we had Matt Kelly, the founder of PlayerProfiler.com.
Yep, he was great.
Those player profiles from Player Profiler now linked to the FFPC pages, many of the FFPC pages, and you can get all the stats, medical history. Again,
looks cooler.
Yeah, it looks cooler. You want to know what Doug Baldwin's favorite color is? It's on there.
His Spark score will be on there.
Yeah, exactly. You want to know what Russell Wilson's favorite pizza topping is? That'll probably be added next week, but it'll be on there shortly. Yeah. I don't know if it's pepperoni. Probably fish or something since he's playing in Seattle. So that's a very exciting thing. Check that out for all you FFPC players.
Coffee grounds.
That is also a possibility. You know, I was reading this, you know, these different brunch places we have here in Northeast Wisconsin. One of them, I can't remember which one, serves a chicken and waffles brunch pizza, and it's got instead of tomato sauce, they put maple syrup on. They top it with some sort of sweet cheese, and then it's fried chicken breast strips.
Oh my god!
And there's something else that went on it too. Some other sweet stuff.
Sounds awful.
I guess it's very good.
Yeah.
Check out the main event, by the way. If you have not signed up for it,
that's getting close now.
The early bird deadline is only a few days away, May 31st. That is the last day you're going to have the opportunity to save $100 off your first main event team. You can save $250 off each additional main event team after that. But that's coming up fast. And the room blocks at Planet Hollywood. Be sure you're filling those up because they are filling up with or without you. We definitely want to have you come out and play with us live. And check that out at myffpc.com. All the information is there.
Balky and I will be in a panorama suite, so you won't get a room nice as our room.
Maybe you will. Who knows?
We have a really nice VIP suite with a view.
Special year because we're on the strip, back on the strip this year, and it is indeed the 10th anniversary of the Fantasy Football Players Championship. Hopefully you can draft, the 10th anniversary of that event. We have plenty of Dynasty Leagues, online satellites going on at myffpc.com. And don't forget.
What's up?
June 4th. The 2017 Football Guys Players Championship kicks off. I believe we have one league full already that day. They're all ready to draft. Many more are filling up. All the draft times and dates that we have that are open are on myffpc.com as well. So definitely give those a look and get signed up for those. Thanks to Football Guys, Roto World, and Rob for tonight's rundown. Kicking things off, I'm sure Dave will be pissed, so we'll just get to it. Laquan Treadwell having a good offseason so far, according to Vikings OC Pat Shurmur. Treadwell has, quote, been on point from a mental standpoint, done very well in route running, catching the ball, as well as blocking. Shurmur says he is pleased with the progress that Treadwell has made from his freshman season to his sophomore season here in the NFL. This is all according to a report filed to ESPN.com by Ben Gosling. Laquan Treadwell, Dave, running with the ones, as the kids say, in Vikings minicamp right now. You have Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen clearly ahead of him on the pecking order of the wide receiver chart. But this is all good things to hear, that a pedigreed receiver that a lot of us were excited about for Dynasty that maybe have soured on him after just 1 year.
A lot of others were excited for Dynasty. Let's be honest.
You weren't into him?
No, I've been doing the show with you forever, and I told you I never liked Treadwell. You don't listen to anything.
No. I thought this was the whole. This is the Dante Moncrief discussion, and you said, "Yeah, I was watching this Dante Moncrief, and you was really standing out with Laquan Treadwell."
Yes, way back.
That's what I'm talking about.
Before the combine.
Yes.
Like when Treadwell was a true freshman. Yes, I thought he looked fantastic. As we entered the draft process, I was very clear that I was not drafting Treadwell. I drafted Treadwell in no leagues. I hated Treadwell.
Yes, but hold on. You said that, so his whole last collegiate season, you were off him. I seem to remember you saying a lot of good things about him then.
Okay, so as he entered the combine, he was insanely slow. I watched a bunch of tape, and
at the combine, he was insanely slow.
Yes, he was slow at the combine, and unbelievable.
What?
I was pretty obvious that I didn't draft him anywhere that I didn't like him.
No, but I'm saying, I think you should, because you were on Laquan Treadwell for a while.
Oh, shit.
No, I'm serious. You were.
I was on him well before the draft process last year, throughout the entire, after the combine, at the combine and beyond. At no point did I say anything positive about Treadwell. Listen to the tapes.
All I'm saying is you were on him and then you soured on him.
You were the worst.
Like many dynasty
You were
winners.
a total clown.
I'm not a clown. This is fact. And I will go back and listen to the tapes.
I'm in 8 dynasty leagues. I have no piece
That's
of Treadwell.
fine, Dave. But all I'm saying is that you were on him and then you soured on him. If it was before the dynasty draft, it was before the dynasty draft.
Okay, let's put it this
but
way.
I'm saying,
but at any point in time when it mattered, I was not a fan
well,
of Treadwell.
I don't know. I would still say it kind of mattered leading up into draft season. Given that this guy was a top 2 pick in dynasty drafts, and if you held a top 2 pick, you could definitely pony that up for something for somebody who was on Treadwell and wanted to give up something of note for him.
Yeah. So if you were making trades in January and February, there was a chance.
There's plenty of FFPC players that do that.
Absolutely, you're right. And you were trying to acquire Treadwell because maybe we spoke positively about his prospects.
I'm not saying. No, listen. I'm not saying that anybody listened to. Oh, Dave's on Treadwell. I got to trade for him. I don't think anybody did that. But I will say, before Treadwell was drafted in the NFL, you did like him.
Before the combine, I liked him. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. That's all I'm saying.
It's unbelievable.
You know, it's a holiday weekend. You don't need to get this upset about it.
People draft. But you're insinuating that I caused people to draft Treadwell. When in fact, it was quite the opposite. You've been speaking.
I'll say this. Let me just say this before you speak. If I somehow insinuated that I think people drafted Treadwell because you said you were high on him, I totally apologize for that because that is not what I meant at all. And
what's the point of your comments in the first place?
I'm just saying.
What's the point? Why are you just saying?
Which comment?
About me being on Treadwell. Effectively.
Not just you, but there's a ton of people who are on him. He was drafted as a top 2 overall pick in Dynasty. There's a ton of people on him.
The point of us having a show is to try and influence people's decisions, right?
No, not necessarily.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
So you saying that, you like Treadwell, in kind of a blanket BS statement, insinuates that I was endorsing Treadwell for people when it mattered, during the draft.
Okay.
Let's move on.
If anybody's inferring that.
Let's talk about Leonte Crew. I liked him the whole way through.
All right, hold on.
He's been a total bust.
I was
wrong about him. Is that going to make you happy?
That's not what I'm getting at all. If anybody's inferring that Dave that I'm saying that Dave wanted you to draft Treadwell because he liked him, I am not saying that at all because I know Dave did not like him up until the draft season. Yeah, I do. No, I'm just saying. You did like him at one point. You didn't like him by the time Dynasty drafts rolled down. All right, anyway. So Treadwell, you're not excited about him now?
No, I'm definitely not excited about him.
He's basically free in classics right now. You wouldn't want to take a stab on him late?
You didn't say it. You didn't ask me that. You asked me if I was excited about him. Would I take a stab late? Sure, I would take a stab late. Right. I'm not excited about him.
Okay. All right. What about Diggs?
If you look at the comments, this is like he's on point from a mental standpoint. That's like, okay. He's done well. He's pleased with the progress. If they would have said it's night and day, Treadwell is like totally turned the corner. I can't believe what he's doing.
See, but then
you have to be effusive. I mean, that's the thing in these rookie minigames too. If the praise is effusive,
right? But see, when it gets to be effusive like that, then my BS detector starts going off, and I'm like, okay,
it's very rare that you see the effusive and then a trade. It doesn't happen.
A trade?
Yes, where you try and talk someone up so much that then you trade.
No, but I mean not trade them. Just that they're trying to convince themselves that they made the right decision and stuff like that. So,
all right, whatever.
What about Diggs and Thielen? Diggs at the 605, Thielen in the 10th round.
I don't really,
You've never been a huge Diggs guy.
Yeah, neither one of those two guys excites me.
Thielen's not a pedigreed guy.
They're not going to score a zillion touchdowns. Bradford's just okay.
Yeah.
Rudolph, I guess I would still look at. Rudolph's still
Oh, my God. So this is what it's come to now.
I mean, for Minnesota, Rudolph's still semi-cheap, and Bradford's not that good, so he throws to Rudolph. Hold
on. I gotta find this now. Because I'm curious as to where Kyle Rudolph's going in FFPC drafts, because I think there's a chance of all the pass catchers that are in Minnesota right now, Kyle Rudolph might be the guy that you and I would want to roster more than anybody else. I guess Diggs in the 6th round there's nothing wrong with it. It's just weird to say out loud. Diggs in the 6th round I could definitely get behind, given how many passes that he should catch again this year. I can't
70.
I can't find it. No, he'll catch more than 70. You want to put 5 on that?
Yeah, sure.
Really?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, so 70 even.
Don't spit on me.
Sorry. Do I get the whole season or just weeks 1 to 16?
We'll give you the whole season.
Okay, so the whole season, you have under 70 for Stephon Diggs.
Sure.
I have over 70, and I get 5 on it.
An injury.
This whole injury mess just really ticks me off about these bets. But whatever.
How many catches did he have last year? I'm kind of curious now. After I made the bet, see, at least I don't cheat and look this up.
Hey, I've never cheated on a bet like that.
I did not say that you did.
Okay. But you insinuated that I cheated.
84 last year.
Okay. What do you have the year before that?
84 receptions on 111 targets. What does he run, like 3-yard routes?
Pretty much.
What's the completion percentage?
Well, look, who's the quarterback last year? It wasn't Flacco, I'll tell you that.
Come on, 84 divided by 111. 75.6%. Come on.
Yeah.
These little handoffs.
Okay, here's another guy that.
For 900 yards. What?
Yeah, it wasn't great. You draft him for the catches, and the yards and the touchdowns are the gravy of the fantasy meal. Here's another guy that.
3 touchdowns.
Here's another guy that, as far as I know, Dave, You've never pimped up on this show. You've never advised anybody to draft him.
All right.
But you've actually come around on him, and that I know for a fact. Kevin White spent the last few months, this is an interesting post, working to align his stride after a stress fracture in his left tibia in his rookie season and a left fibular spiral fracture and severe ankle ligament damage that cost him 3/4 of the season last year. This is a report submitted to the Chicago Tribune by Bears beat reporter Rich Campbell. Man, that is a lot of stuff going on. But, Dave, still going at the end of the 13th round of FFPC drafts.
That's actually pretty late.
That's very late.
It's late, even though he's a bust, right? Kevin White's a bust. He's been a bust. He's going to be a bust.
Okay.
Just like Mike Williams. Okay, can I say this?
Yeah.
Mike Williams from the Chargers. I don't like him. If he's successful, it's for whatever reason. Do not draft him. Take Tyrell Williams instead.
Okay.
So that's my statement now and forever.
Okay. Now, well, until you change it. But listen, Kevin White, Laquan Treadwell, and Mike Williams, who, if you had to have one guy that you said, okay, he's going to turn around, who has,
Mike Williams,
because you don't know. Yeah. Okay. So what about Treadwell and Kevin White?
I would take Kevin White.
Yeah. So Treadwell, Treadwell's a bust for you. Kevin White's pretty much a bust.
Yeah, I own Kevin White in one league, and it was an orphan team I took over.
Yeah, and you haven't been able to pawn that off on anybody else.
I wish I had dealt him. I just haven't done
that. And Jemima in the chat room, I might take Treadwell over Kevin White and then Kern Reeve in the 37th round. That's fantastic.
I like Cam Meredith, actually.
Okay, that was what I was going to talk to you about next, because you look at the ADPs for these guys. Cam Meredith, who crushed it and looked very, very good, was a great piece off the waiver wire for a lot of FFPC teams last year. He's going right at the start of the 11th round. To me, this is a slam dunk. I'd rather have Meredith. I'd rather pay the extra 2 rounds for Meredith than if I get White, I get White or whatever. But Meredith in the 11th looks great.
Yeah, so Meredith, he's not pedigree, but otherwise he's been healthy, and he's actually more proven. And the coaches they actually made a couple of somewhat negative comments about Meredith, like, he's got to step up his game, this or that. But that, to me, is one of those things where they're just trying – they're almost like they're really relying on him. And it's like, we really need Meredith to come around, because Kevin White is reading the tea leaves. They're looking at Kevin White like, this guy's not going to amount to anything. Right. And they're challenging Meredith to really step up and be the number one.
Right. And I think the fact that Meredith is not a pedigree guy, that a lot of people still don't really know about him, I think that's another reason that's driving his ADP down, too, to the 11th round. Yeah. This is a guy that could conceivably, honestly, he could catch like 70, 75 passes for 950, 1,000 yards, 7 or 8 touchdowns this year. You can get him in the 11th round. With the way that people are pimping up receivers the last few years, Cam Meredith is that's an absolute steal in the 11th round.
I didn't know this, but Cameron Meredith was from Berwyn, Illinois, and he played college football at Illinois State. Now he's playing for the Bears.
How about that?
Awesome.
Yeah. Was he undrafted?
He was undrafted free agent in 2015.
Fascinating. Do we have our guest coming up here shortly? Yeah, we do. Okay, so we
have a guest, right?
Yeah. Okay, so we'll skate right past this last point since you already brought it up.
For a little too long.
Miami Herald's Barry Jackson says it's far from certain that third-round pick last year, Leonte Carroo, even makes the Dolphins' 53-man roster. Remember, they're hoping for big things for Devontae Parker. There's a hype train going for Parker right now. Obviously, Jarvis Landry's been pretty proven there, and Kenny Stills got paid big-time moolah by the Dolphins this offseason in free agency. So you look at Carroo, Dave, so you obviously own him in at least one dynasty league.
I own in a couple leads where I'm cutting him.
You are? Okay, so you are cutting, this is like 22-man roster leagues or something like that. What happened? Was he a head case? Adam Gase said he put too much on his plate last year, but now I'm reading that here, like, there could actually be something more. They gave up all those draft assets to acquire him, too. I don't get it.
That was part of our case behind Carroo, was that the Dolphins believed in him so much that they spent all this draft capital to get him.
And he was a darling on draft Twitter.
Yeah,
a lot of people liked him.
Only had a couple drops as a senior. There was something I read that said that he didn't even want to go out and play against some certain player, so that's why he didn't play one game.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Jesus. Well, there's sometimes, you know what? There's one co-host on the show I don't even want to do the show with. I still do it every week, except for when he's gone. And then I still do it, and it's great.
Thanks,
all right, we have
yes.
Well, you're very welcome. We have much more coming up with Dave Strand, our guest tonight. We have to get to a break. You're listening to the High Stakes Fantasy Football. We'll be back in a minute right here on the Fantasy Sports Radio Network. Happy Memorial Day weekend to everybody out there listening on the Fantasy Sports Radio Network. My name is Eric Balkman. I am co-hosting the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour tonight with the patron saint of fantasy football. His name is Dave Gerzak, and now I want to bring on tonight's guest who's been waiting patiently. He says he's enamored with the NFL, and fantasy football became a natural extension of this in the late 1980s from the days of Cliff Charpentier. Do you remember this guy? Cliff Charpentier, Fantasy Football Digest?
Is it a champagne or
No, it's not. It was a pundit back in the day. This was before my time. So maybe this was after your time. So I don't know. Maybe just in the happy
middle. I
middle.
don't know. Cliff Charpentier.
Yeah. Into today's incredible online analytics, it has been an enjoyable lifelong hobby for him. He plunged into high stakes in 2011, been hooked ever since. He blends main event, football guys drafts, and dynasty competitions with as many draft expert leads as his spring and summer will allow. Please welcome into the show Dave Strand. Dave, thanks for coming on the show, and happy Memorial Day weekend to you.
Yeah, happy Memorial Day to you too, and thank you guys so much for having me on.
This is awesome tonight because
we need someone to come between us.
We're
arguing all night.
Not so much that, but now as far as the Dave's rank on the show tonight, Gerzak, you've been dubbed number 2 now for the next half hour roughly.
I am way low on the totem.
So Dave has actually stepped up here, but he is no patron saint of fantasy football.
Usurped? Are you going to use that word?
Yeah, we'll find out. Maybe he's usurped to be the penultimate guest co-host on this show.
Everyone drink.
Dave, tell us, Strand, tell us what you do for a living when you're not playing fantasy football.
Call him Dave S. Because in grade school, I had a guy named Dave S. was in my grade.
All right, Dave.
This will be like grade school again.
All right, Dave S. What do you do when you're not playing fantasy football?
And Dave G. You did like Dave S. right?
Yeah, we were good.
They're the best of friends.
It was Dave Svensson, actually. He was a Norwegian, I think.
Okay. Oh, hey. Well, I've got Nordic blood, so all Dave S's must come from the same spot. Yeah, when I'm not playing fantasy football, I'm playing fantasy golf, and it's as easy as that. No, I'm just kidding. I am in the world of software, telecom. I work with rural telecom companies, and we provide just operational support systems. So I'm a product manager.
See, I don't have any good questions for that, Paul.
Yeah, I feel like whenever we've had anybody, one of these software titans come on the show, it's sort of like a lacking area for us to follow up with questions. But at least we can follow up with some good fantasy football stuff.
All right. Sorry, Dave. I'm going to have to ask you a normal question instead of some wiseacre comment. All right, Dave. You've had a lot of success in the FFPC, winning more than $20,000, including cashes in 5 Draft Experts leagues last season. You've already drafted several 2017 DEs as well. Tell us why you like to draft early in the NFL offseason.
2 primary reasons. I think the competition is wonderful. There's a lot of active players out there, and right now, I think I'm drafting against the best. So that is an attractant to get involved at this time of the year, spring, because you're really interacting with people that are as obsessed as I am. And the other reason, I think my confidence with the long view in terms of my interpretation of the league and how things are going to unfold. I mean, this is just speculation, and at this time of the year, I'm most confident, so I don't have the drain of the weekly injuries, and I can imagine that everything is going to stay static. So I think, on average, over many different leagues, my long view assists in success.
I think that's interesting that you bring up the competition aspect because you're right. I mean, there's a lot of people who are doing a lot of these DEs right now that do several of them at once. So they definitely have a leg up on people who just, start drafting in, late June or early July or anything like that. But I think if you look at it from the standpoint of look, you say it's the best of the best that are drafting right now. These are the same types of people that maybe you won't see too many of them in a football guys draft or, a different satellite in July or August. But these are the same people that are probably going to end up in your main event league come September when you're drafting live or online. And it's definitely good practice to get those, get a leg up on knowing your competition when it comes down to it as well. So definitely good stuff there. But Dave, when you do so many of them, are you trying to differentiate what your teams look like? Are you not afraid to put a lot of eggs in one player's basket? Are you trying to purposely be different at different spots of the draft just to get, some ownership of a lot of different players? How do you normally fall on that sort of strategical aspect?
It's I think the overarching strategy is one of avoidance. I think in terms of drafting patterns, from zero RB to taking two quarterbacks in the first 6 rounds, I'm open to any way that the draft takes me. So really the constant theme though is my analysis around players that I don't understand ADP to my perception of their value. So I do have that as kind of the main sticking point. I definitely spend time targeting a bucket of players without question, but that has less importance to me than the avoiding group.
Interesting.
Yeah. You weren't Dave G. This is a question for.
Oh yes.
Back in the day, you were never a big pound out a bunch of DEs. Let's get 15, 20 satellites in me before I start drafting in WCOF or what have you. You never seemed to be that type of guy.
I wasn't, but it honestly they didn't.
You didn't have the opportunity, I guess.
Yeah, back when WCOF was around, they really didn't do that very frequently.
Yeah.
I didn't have that much cash laying around back then.
Yeah.
Now I have money all over the place.
Yeah. Oh yeah, clearly. Yeah.
I can buy 35s like crazy.
Yeah.
I just can't play.
At least 3 of them.
Yeah, 3 or 4, 3-pack. All right, so you got a lot of drafts in the bank right now. So have you noticed any trends at all, Dave S., that are they're different than last year about the way drafts are going?
I think from the obvious is just the flop with the first 3 picks. Obviously, the big 3 running backs. But it's been amazingly static compared to the past years, and I think that's probably a testament to who I'm drafting with. The one aspect I have seen is perhaps, as always, the allure of potential really brings some type of rookie group out. And this year, I think without question, the running backs are being overdrafted. I think recently I was in one where Jamal and Joe, the Williams, went probably 9 and 10, and that's rounds. And I can't buy into that when there's a group of veteran backs just sitting there between the 40 to 60 range of RB. So yeah, I think the rookie RBs is the one thing that jumps out right now, and then of course the flip at the top.
And I know you're speaking, Dave, specifically of those first 3 running backs of Johnson, Bell, and Elliott. But one of the things we're sort of exploring and quote unquote covering this season is, everybody was all about zero RB last year, and then you saw some pretty good running back seasons, which is why you see those top 3 picks being backs. Have you seen maybe the running backs in general in maybe the top 3 or 4 rounds get pushed up a little bit? Do you see maybe less zero RB strategy this season, or is it, indistinguishable from how it was in 2016?
Fantastic question. And I think from a draft expert perspective, I would say it's pretty static, but I think what you're alluding to is something that we will see as the season approaches, is we will see the typical reactionary adjustment to the prior season. And I don't know where I've settled yet, but I think we will see that, and I'm very intrigued by zero RB again this year, although, of course, it burned all of us last year to a great extent. But with that fact, the aggregate sum of fantasy points from wide receivers was actually more last year than it was in 2015, which surprised me. It was just distributed more. And we saw kind of the reverse for running backs in 2015. So it's a long-winded way of saying that I hope I don't see as much zero RB because I plan on playing it.
Dave Strand is our guest tonight, a career winner of more than $20,000 in the FFPC. Dave, you alluded to Jamal Williams and Joe Williams, the rookie running backs, going in the 9th and 10th round in one of your DEs. Let's talk about a few of those guys that you're getting at a similar spot in these 250 draft expert leagues. In one of the current ones you have going, you went 3 straight running backs in rounds 10 through 12, Paul Perkins, LeGarrette Blount, and C.J. Prosise. As you look at those 3 running backs, which one of them, if any, do you think has the best opportunity or will climb up draft boards as we get closer to main event season in September? Which one of those guys do you think is going to ascend more than the other 2 throughout the summer?
Tough question. I think the one that will be Perkins. The one that should, or I should say I'm hoping would be Prosise. I am very happy with what I'm considering a Lacy smokescreen at the moment, and just loading up on shares of Prosise. I think especially, it's very thick, and I'm undecided on the big guy, but I have to play against him just because of a couple years of burning, if you know what I mean. And I think Prosise from a draft expert perspective, just his explosivity, if that's even a word. The guy, I think, has that ability to really put up giant games, and it is something that's attractive in the draft experts. So, comparing to main event, I may be a little shyer on Prosise, but he should be the one going up. Perkins, I think he will, just because of the situation. He does look the part of a decent toting back. I think he'll get a lot of touches this year. I'm not overly intrigued, but I'll be taking him upwards of the 8th round, I think.
So, Balky, I've said a few negative things about Perkins.
Yeah.
But having said that, so he's going in the 8th to 10th to 12th. Like, he's going that late? He's the starting running back. Who's competing with Wayne Gallman? Is that his only competition?
Yeah, and there's a certain sect of people that will tell you.
Shane Vereen still around? No.
Yeah, he is.
So he's just chilling.
Yeah.
Shane Vereen sucks. He's super old.
Andre Williams is no longer there.
Even I would take Perkins in most spots.
Rashad Jennings. You see Rashad Jennings won Dancing with the Stars?
No, you know what? I missed that.
My wife told me because she knew I was a football player, so she was like, "Oh, hey, Rashad Jennings." Yeah, so Paul Perkins right now, Dave, is going at the end. He's like the 8-12 right now in FFPC drafts. You look at
what's Gallman, like the 20th?
Super late. I mean, it'll take me forever to find him. Eddie Lacy. This is interesting too, as long as we're talking about Prosise, because I'm hearing more and more people. Like respected players like Dave that are taking Prosise and hoping / expecting big things from him. You can get him right now in the late 10th round. Eddie Lacy at the 6-12. Listen, there is no bigger Eddie Lacy apologist out there than me. I would much rather have C.J. Prosise in the late 10th than take Eddie Lacy in the late 6th.
Well, and you get a running-based offense too, which is nice.
Yeah, and with an improved offensive line. And remember, Prosise was he was dinged up, and when he was healthy, he was really coming on. Like, he was making plays in that offense. And I don't know. I'm hoping for bigger things for Prosise this year as well.
Dave, do you have any further comments on Prosise?
I don't. He is electric, and let's hope Balky.
Well, so Balky's right. You know what? Eddie Lacy's 27 pounds lighter than Kelvin Benjamin right about now.
Is that what it is? Is that?
Yeah,
I suppose
253 versus 280.
Well, the alleged 280 that Kelvin Benjamin.
Now, granted, Benjamin's taller, so he's distributing the weight a little bit more evenly.
Speaking of which, did you see the picture of Kelvin Benjamin that was on Twitter? Okay, so
his face looks fat.
Matt Kelly was so hilarious. Matt Kelly from Player Profiler, guest of the show. He tweeted out that photo, and you saw Benjamin in it and some other Panthers players, like receivers, pass catchers. You couldn't see Curtis Samuel wasn't in the picture. And Matt Kelly just tweeted out, "Looks like Kelvin Benjamin ate Curtis Samuel," which was, you can't see him. Like Benjamin did look pretty puffy in that. So Anyway, moving on.
Maybe he took a few ibuprofens and had a drink.
Yeah, who knows?
I mean, it's all puffy.
It's all water weight.
All right, Dave S. In one of your current 250s, you drafted. Wait, I read that question, Balky. What the hell's going on?
No. This is
No, that's the same question you read.
This one.
Now we're talking about Todd Gurley.
Yeah, exactly.
Another one of your 250s. We're talking about Todd Gurley. You took him in the second round. Why do you think a bounce back season is in the cards for Todd Gurley this year?
Well, I'm stubborn with that much talent. I mean, when I take a look at just pure ability, I mean, I'd put him behind Bell as at the top of the charts. So, without diving into offensive line, I'm not a analyst of offensive lines. I know they've made a couple of moves, especially with Whitworth. I know the line was anemic last year. I would hope that a move from a Fisher-oriented system will also spell at least 1 ounce of creativity from the offense with the young man. What's his name?
Sean McVay.
Thank you, with McVay. So it really comes down to that the second to third round with Gurley. Third round, without question, I'll grab him as much as possible. I'll be a little hesitant, but again, it comes down to there's certain players that I'll take anywhere, and he is that kind of guy.
All the talent in the world, and certainly, you'd like to have your team suffer with really talented guys if they're going to suffer at all. You don't want to take the schlubs that are going to drain your team down. So I'm behind that. As many listeners to the show, I own Todd Gurley in the Blake Carrington League, Dynasty League. Still waiting for that investment to pay off. I hope it's this season, but we'll see what happens. We're also going to see what happens when we come back from this break. We're going to talk a little bit about Doug Martin and some other running backs with tonight's guest, Dave Strand, $20,000 winner in the FFPC in his career. He's Dave Gerzak. I'm Eric Balkman. This is the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour right here on the Fantasy Sports Radio Network. The HSFF Hour rolls on here with Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak on the Fantasy Sports Radio Network. Our guest this evening is Dave Strand, a man who has won more than $20,000 playing in the main event, the FPC, and several early season, mid-season, late season draft experts leagues as well. Dave, we've gotten into a lot of interesting running back discussion tonight. Another guy I want to bring up is a guy that's been talked about quite a bit in the offseason, some good, some bad. Right now, Doug Martin is going at the 8-11 in FFPC drafts. Do you view that spot as a bargain, knowing that Tampa really didn't invest heavily in the running back in either free agency or the draft? They do add Jeremy McNichols. They do have Jacquizz Rodgers coming back. But you look at Doug Martin and Charles Sims, of course, still floating around the squad. You have Doug Martin at the 8-11. Is that a good spot for him, or are you still staying away from him there?
I'm very hesitant, and I don't know that you go to rehab for Adderall. So I know that the recent story is that he's a stronger person, but 8-11 is way too high. I'm happy to take him at 12+, just because of the upside. But he looks to be on a weird career cycle. As I looked, having 1,400 yards in his first and fourth seasons. And that the fourth season being the contract year, all these things start adding up, and I'll just play Sims until my knuckles are bleeding.
That's interesting. So is it just Sims that you view as the best guy in that situation and in an ascending offense in the NFL, or do you really believe in his talent?
I think it's more the situation. I do love Jacquizz, but I won't play him a lot just because of the size. And Sims, he doesn't jump off the field in terms of his ability, but I am intrigued by his pass catching, and especially I am on board with everything that's going on out there, especially with Cutter. They are organized, and Winston, who I was certainly against for the first season and a half, he proved some things with just his leadership that makes it a no-brainer anymore for me to just ride all Buccaneers.
I think I'm. You don't have to say it, Dave G, but I think that at some point you're going to put a kibosh on me bringing up the Buccaneers offense this summer, because I feel like I'm going to be talking about it a lot. There's been so many changes,
It's up and coming. It's okay.
Oh, okay.
I'll let this.
We're going to have to talk about it because they're on Hard Knocks this year too.
Oh yeah, that'll
actually be entertaining. We'll have to follow the Doug Martin storyline there, and
Jameis can keep his nose clean.
I don't know if Jameis Winston is a charismatic enough person that they'd want to feature him on Hard Knocks. I could just imagine him just sort of fading into the background, not really wanting to be in front of the camera.
Hey, so why not feature criminals? It's fine.
I'm just saying, like, he's a very magnetic personality in real life.
Yes.
Anyway.
I feel like he's the plus, I'm the minus. I'm repelled from this character. Anyway,
no comment.
What do you make of Terrell Pryor this season, Dave S? He's the 24th wide receiver off the board. You're going at the 502. Is that a spot that you'd like to have him on your team?
I can't do it, and I stay away from Pryor more than anything. Just I like guys with a little bit of track record in the first 7 rounds, and I'm scared that coordination defensively will be able to adjust. I know he had a fantastic season. He definitely has the body type for a legit number 1 receiver, and there are positives with the way that Jay Gruden has executed that offense. It still amazes me with Cousins. I'm not a Cousins guy, never will be. But they are efficient. But I'm more on Pryor, probably 8-9, and that means I probably won't have any Pryor this year.
You talk about proven players, and I just want to ask you about the Washington offense in general, because it sounds like you're staying away from Pryor, which is fine. It sounds like you probably might stay away from Doxson, since we don't really know what he is in that offense, given we do know what Jordan Reed is, and we do know what Jamison Crowder is. We've seen what those guys can do. Are those guys more likely to end up on your teams this year than Doxson and Pryor?
Yeah, you've got me pegged. And it's certainly, Doxson and Pryor will be off, but Brian Quick, on the other hand, will be on many rosters. And I still think all of the last 2 seasons is really due to the shoulder issue. I think he's a fantastic player, and I would not be surprised in the least, if he's number 3 in terms of production at the end of this season, behind Crowder and Reed.
All right. Yeah, that's interesting. I have not heard that before. Dave, what's your take on Brian Quick? Are you with Dave S. and maybe this is a guy to take a chance on very late?
He's in the league still?
Yes, he's still in the league.
Oh, I didn't even know.
Yeah, okay. So now apparently you are on him, now that you know that he's...
Let me update my depth chart.
Yeah, clearly. Hey, listen...
Let me ask you a question, though.
Okay, go ahead.
What's that? I think I realized why I don't like Josh Doxson.
Okay.
It's his name.
Didn't you draft him in Dynasty? Or maybe you traded
Will Fuller for him, and then I've since dealt him to move up to get McCaffrey.
Right, so this is some hardcore football analysis here.
Josh Doxson.
His name, yes.
What's the name of that dog that starts with D-A-C-H?
Dachshund?
Is that how it's pronounced?
I don't know. I think so. Dachshund?
I always pronounced it like Dachshund or something like that.
Oh.
So maybe I mispronounced it, but it always reminds me of that dog, and I just don't like it.
So you associate his name with the dog.
Yeah, he's always dogging it, and he doesn't do anything.
Well, maybe this year he will be an underdog that everybody will be cheering for.
Dachshund? Is that how you say it? See, if you say it Dachshund...
You can't see, and then, so Kern Reeve is spelling it out in the chat.
He's spelling it, phonetically.
We know, but we know how to spell it. We just don't know how to say it.
That's actually not how you spell it.
That might be it.
I think he's saying Dachshund, so then Dachshund. So it's the same thing almost.
Okay. Well, anyway.
It's annoying. I don't like him. I'm not drafting him because he reminds me of a dog.
Hey, let's Guardians of the Gates of Hell. I hate them. I love Kern Reeve, though. Dave Strand, we have a couple of emails here for you. This first one is from Steve in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. He writes, "Hi, Dave. Is it best to keep it simple when it comes to drafting Broncos running backs? Anderson is the starter, Charles is change of pace, and Booker is third string? Or is there more to it than that? Thanks so much, That is Steve in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Thank you so much for the email, Steve. We haven't talked about the Broncos running backs yet tonight, but, I mean, is there more than meets the eye here in Denver, or is that how you see the pecking order, Anderson and then change of pace, Charles, and Booker as the third string?
Yeah, it's difficult to say. I think Anderson for me is probably the best bet. I'll roll some Anderson, but Charles, it will have to be very late to gamble on the knees. I think it was evident from last year the little bit of time he got that things may be done. And Booker, I don't really like, and it is important to know I am a Broncos season ticket holder. I grew up in Denver. Wow. I do not, really like any of these backs. I've never been a giant C.J. Anderson guy. I was hoping they would do more in the draft. I think Henderson's just another plug-and-play special teams guy. So stay away from all of them.
They're going to draft a running back early next year, Broncos. Ready to make a bet, Bob?
Let's go. No, hold on. Okay, first 3 rounds. So hold on. Henderson was a guy they just picked up late. Whatever. He means nothing.
Rounder, garbage.
Yeah, they traded Capri Bibbs to the Niners, I think, and then they have
that's too deep for me.
Charles is like a one and done. Anderson.
And he's balding too. If you look at his picture, it's like I don't like.
Oh, really? Do you have it up?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with balding, but it's like. When I look at an athlete, I'm like, he's losing his hair. He's lost his
Unless he's a golfer or a baseball player. Then I can get on board
then
with
you're fine.
it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, no, I'm not going to do that because I do think, because you're going to put it like rounds 1 through 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they would. So I agree with you on that. I am concurring. Let's get to another email here. This is from Chris in Charlotte, North Carolina, which is where the Coca-Cola 600 will be the taking place on Sunday night, Dave. Just was talking to one of my NASCAR buddies today.
You have to tune into that.
He's all pumped for it because the same day is the Indy 500, and the Coca-Cola 600, I guess, is one of the longest NASCAR races. And he said, one day I watched the whole Indy 500 and the whole Coca-Cola 600. I'm like, my eyes would have been on fire. If that would have been me.
1,100 miles.
That's a lot of miles. Chris in Charlotte, North Carolina, he writes, "Hello, Dave. When you're drafting on the ends, 1, 2, 3, or 10, 11, 12, in a DE, how do you anticipate the runs on kicker and defense so you get good value and don't get skunked?" That is Chris in Charlotte, North Carolina. People complain about this a lot. I've seen on Twitter when they're in like a 28-round DE, and if they're not in the middle, they're always freaking out of when to grab kickers and defenses because
this is good advice then that the investor's going to give us.
Well, I hope so, Dave. What do you do when you have one of those end picks? How do you make sure that you're still getting good value at those two positions?
I do make a earmark that the 15th round is almost as late as I'll go to start the combination of the positions. It seems that is one other thing that seems a little bit different than last year is that the kicker run is attempted to start by drafters earlier and earlier, and I see Tucker is sneaking into the 12th and 13th round, which is I can't buy the math behind that. But because of the nature of these things, and people do just they'll load up those rounds with kickers and Ds. I start in about the 15th. If I get one I really like, for example Bailey, or a defense like the Texans, I will hold off and then attempt to grab value later on. But if it's not somebody I like, I'll use those rounds from 15 to 22 to kind of load up.
Okay, so here's just a question about how many kickers and defenses do you generally take in a DE? Do you always have to hit a certain number, or do you not necessarily have to hit? Like a lot of people say 3.
Yeah, right. Great question. I've finally been convinced that I should do more 3, just based on my results with the position. So I'm playing more 3, but I'm happy to roll with 2 if I've got a good one. I think that it's still overvalued a little bit. I'll almost always play 3 defenses though.
That's awesome. And I like drafting at the ends myself, Balky, because
do you?
I like having I like being the person that either starts the run or keeps it going. Like if it's all of a sudden a bunch of defenses go, it's like, all right, I'll take 2 defenses, and then all of a sudden everybody's like, freaking out.
Yeah.
So.
Well, a lot of people do that with tight ends too.
Oh yeah.
I'm so glad the FFPC continues to do that 1.5
per catch for tight ends because it makes drafts so much more entertaining. Because there's always you know what the best is when I'm commissioning one of these online drafts, and people are always like, there's always one guy that's taking the tight ends. The best draft when there's two guys that are like, that each have like two tight ends in the first 3 rounds.
8 people are pissed off.
Oh
right?
My God, yeah. I'm like, somebody's taking like, Jack Doyle in like the 5th round as their number as like the 15th tight end off the board, like asking himself, what in the hell just happened? What am I doing here?
Dave, do you have those drafts go on?
What's that?
Dave, have you been in drafts like that where you have like just people going crazy on the tight ends, like 2 or 3 guys just taking like 3 early?
Oh yeah, and those they can definitely throw you for a loop because sometimes I get floored, I don't know what to do, and I've got guys like Ebron in the 5th, which is a little bit pricey, but again I guess it's relative to the position, but it makes it fun because every one of them is so different, and that's why. I'll keep coming back and keep loading them up. Great time.
That's awesome. All right, so this is one of my favorite questions. So are we doing Dynasty, Balky, or are we doing?
No, let's do redraft. Yeah.
All right, so we're looking for bust and the sleeper. We're looking for an early round bust in the redraft leagues for FFPC, and then a late round sleeper that you want to get in as many drafts as you can.
And you can't say Brian Quick.
Yeah, he's almost he's almost in a coma, so that I don't know how you come up with a word that's past sleeper. But I think early round bust, I will stay away from Cooks everywhere. And a lot of that has to go with, I think there's some sort of fantasy law out there that you have to stay away from a Patriot wide receiver in this system in his first year just because of the complexities. And that gets compounded when Cook's news from last year obviously had some disagreements with coaching and usage. So I know that Belichick and crew maximize everything, but I can't believe that I'm taking Edelman, 4 rounds behind Cooks. So that's probably the early round guy I consider a bust. Sleeping, I'm all about Eric Swope. My entire approach to fantasy is based on sight. I'm not a stats guy. I have to see the players. I have to see them from the television angle. That's all I've done with this hobby for my entire life. And when I watch Swope, he jumps off the screen. He creates separation. He looks to me like a fast Gates. And Doyle right now, I hope it continues with where he's going compared to Swope. But right now, Swope's on 58% of my teams, and that will continue as long as he doesn't climb too high.
Julian Edelman going at the 508 in drafts right now. Brandon Cook solidly in the 2nd round, so there is a pretty big disparity there. And I saw this on, this is Balky not attributing, the giving credit where credit is due where he saw this, but there is a stat that was out there about the number of snaps that Jack Doyle and Dwayne Allen split last year in Indianapolis. And obviously we know Dwayne Allen's moved on to New England. And the contention, this might have actually been on Fantasy Pros is where I saw this. The contention was, why is everyone just assuming that now that Allen's gone, Doyle is going to get all those snaps? It could be a combination of Doyle and Swope. And if Doyle gets hurt, well, Swope is the guy who has the talent. He has the he passes the eye test. Like you said, Dave, he's a guy that could really be valuable in a lot of FFPC leagues this year. So I like Swope as the late round pick as well.
It's interesting.
Very
I haven't
interesting.
considered him, actually.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, now you will.
I will.
Thank God you co-host this show, so you have access to these brilliant minds that we get on the show. Yeah, absolutely. Dave Strand has been our guest tonight. Dave, it has been quite the treat having you on. I certainly appreciate all the analysis and information you gave out tonight. Best of luck in all of your leagues this year. You've certainly done very well, so you don't need it, but I'm going to wish it to you anyway. A very happy Memorial Day weekend to you as well. Thanks again.
Yeah, much appreciated. Thank you, guys. Balky, thanks for agreeing me on everything. And Dave G, great first name. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
There you go.
That's the best compliment I can get.
Listen, and
you were in the Bible too.
Yeah, exactly. And I get the feeling that, hey, thanks for agreeing with everything I said, Balky. Seems to be a recurring theme on this show.
It's weird that way.
Yeah, very, very.
Kind of like, no wonder you win those like Twitter polls of likability.
Maybe I win the Twitter polls, but isn't it weird that I agree with all these successful people and yet I don't win anything? Does that seem a little weird? Maybe
Balky, you're a little bitter because in Carrington you were complaining to me.
Yeah.
About how your team is actually a really good team, and it is.
It's one. There's a $100 bonus prize for anybody who is the weeks 1 through 16 high scorer in the league.
Cumulative, yeah.
Cumulative. Now, what we're in the 5th year of Carrington.
Yeah.
Is that I've won this twice.
Nice.
I have 0 playoff wins in this league.
Not only have you not won a league, you have not won a playoff.
Yeah, I haven't won the league. Have not won a playoff game yet.
Oh, so great.
So I'm like, it's
as a returning
incredibly
champion,
frustrating.
let me tell you how satisfying that is to hear you say that.
I can't wait to be the returning champion. When my son is running this team in 20 years.
You do have a good team. You have a really good team.
I was actually looking at it the other day, and I was like, all right, I need to do something here. And I'm like looking, I'm like, what am I going to do?
Yeah,
it's not worth, sweating over. I'm just going to, I feel like.
Your biggest accomplishment in that league, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Is being able to still get the people to come back that have these really bad teams, that you're able to collect the money.
Well,
that's
and
impressive.
That's the other thing, too, is I was looking at some of these other teams, and I'm like, how are these teams winning?
Yeah, and then you're like, I want to make a trade with this team, and you're like, I don't want any of these players.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even, I really like this guy. Oh, okay, we can work out a trade. Oh, my God, you don't have any draft picks or any players. what am I supposed to do?
Swoop over here.
It's
He's got 2 O's in his name, too, by the way.
Yes, he does. It's so awful when you see that and you feel like your hands are tied, but at the same time I'm just like, what's the point of trying to break my neck over, and then I might be over managing, Yeah,
it's tough when you have teams that are just too good, Balky. Man.
They're not too good. Team is definitely not too good. This show is too good, and it's about to get worse since we don't have a guest on for the rest of the show.
Now it's just us.
We are going to take a break. When we emails, your tweets, your questions answered all live here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak on the Fantasy Sports Radio Network. I'm Eric Balkman. He is the Dizzle, the patron saint of fantasy football, Dave Gerzak. We are the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour here on the Fantasy Sports Radio Network. We certainly love all of you that listen, but we love the people even more that are chiming in, sending us questions, sending us tweets that we can get to on in the show. And without further ado, it is time to get to that right now on the Memorial Day weekend edition of Fantasy Feedback.
Got a question for Eric, Dave, or tonight's guest? Send them a tweet at HSFF Hour on Twitter. Email the show at highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. Post it in the chat room during the broadcast. Hashtag your tweet with HSFF or just smack Eric in the head. That's highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com or at HSFF Hour on Twitter.
I'm actually in a fairly decent mood tonight, not just because of the long weekend, but my wife mixed up, because I've been having these lower back problems the last week and a half, roughly. Maybe a week, whatever.
You know what? You haven't really told me much about them.
Yeah, it just came on all of a sudden on this past weekend. Like, it kind of hurt, and this is great radio, but it kind of hurt right here. And then all of a sudden, then it's centralized, like, right back here. And it's just like, what in the hell?
Maybe you need acupuncture.
Well, maybe, I don't know. But so my wife mixed up this oil concoction and cream and rubbed it on my and it smelled like Ben Gay. It wasn't Ben Gay, but I mean it was something like it. Yeah, believe me, there's nothing pornographic about this. If you've ever seen my back, there is nothing. Nobody would want to see that. But she was rubbing it on, and it just felt like it was on fire, like absolute fire. But it felt good. And I do yoga like once or twice a week, and I haven't been able to do it this week because any time I stretch, it's like uber pain. Like I can do some of the positions, but most of them I can't. Right. I'm like, this actually feels pretty good. So I actually did 15 minutes of yoga tonight too, and I feel loose as a goose.
Nice.
After I was lubed to a fare thee well, and now it actually, that I've been standing, it's not feeling the greatest anymore. But it's still a lot better than it was. So
the yoga.
I don't know what was in that oil. Maybe it was some sort of steroid. But whatever it was, it helps. It could be eucalyptus. I don't know. Randy in Meriden, Connecticut.
Steroids don't work that quickly.
Well, then it wasn't a steroid. I don't know what it was. I mean, it was something good, whatever it was. Maybe it was ecstasy. What am I missing on Robert Woods? He was paid like Los Angeles wants him to be the number one. Reports are Goff is coming along very nicely with the new offense, and they have a young, creative, offensive-minded coach. I did 2 FFPC Classics, and he wasn't even selected in one of them. Am I overvaluing him? Thanks. That is Randy in Meriden, Connecticut. Okay.
Jared Goff without the L.
Yeah, that's what they called golf back in the day, according to Judge Smales. 2105 for Robert Woods as far as his ADP goes. Again, Cameron Meredith is a guy I'd want on all my teams if I'm drafting right now. Robert Woods is another guy. I mean, he's free. And you can get him. Maybe he catches 65, 70 passes, especially in the DE. He's going to have a few good weeks where he's going to be able to start for you. I like Robert Woods.
He was talking about a classic, but I know what you're saying.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's true.
My problem with Robert Woods, I don't think he's that talented. So I feel like he's kind of like a roster clogger, especially like in a.
But they paid him so much. Aren't they going to give him every opportunity to?
So it would appear. I mean, Tavon Austin's never really put it together.
Right.
They paid him a lot of money as well.
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp's been tearing it up in many camps.
God, Cooper Kupp, yeah.
He's the most pro-ready NFL player out there. I mean, like that pro-ready NFL receiver out there.
Yeah.
Question is, does he become instant great player, or Brian Robisky is like the reincarnation? Remember him?
Yeah,
second round. Remember he was a second-round player.
Ohio State,
and he was the
Ohio State University. Terry Robisky.
Yeah. He's going to come in and be fantastic. He could start year one. Clock will bust.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, I think he was like around the game for literally his entire life. He was always coached up every single day of his entire life. And then, he gets to and that's good. I mean, that got him very far. But he got to the pros, and then all of a sudden that lack of athleticism and talent really showed.
Those NFL corners are like, you're not getting open.
Yeah.
Forget it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess we'll see about Cooper Kupp. Anyway, back to your Woods. I don't know. I'm still not that. I don't like Robert Woods that much.
Okay.
Even at that price, he's pretty cheap.
And the other thing to keep in mind, I mean, again, I'm still on board with just about any. If I was in the player pool for FFPC, I'd look at myself in the 20th round.
Maybe in the 30th round. A little later.
You're a jerk. 20th round is fine. The other thing to remember is Sean McVay really wanted to run those 2 tight end sets, and he drafted Gerald Everett this year, which a lot of people have said that was the most talented guy they drafted, and they still have Tyler Higbee there. So that's another. I mean, the other thing, too, is this is sort of like a Baltimore Ravens light offense where
everybody sucks.
Yeah, there's no real big except for Gurley. And Gurley was a guy who might not even be on the field in passing situations. So I mean,
That's a train wreck.
It's
but there's opportunity.
Trying to find its way is different than a train wreck.
It's a problem, but that's why everybody's cheap.
Yeah. Question from the chat room. Team X747, Tony Pung, former co-host of the show. Here's one for Balky. What do you think of Fleener this year?
Yeah, Balky, that's a great question.
Well, let me tell you, Tom.
I'd like to hear what you have to say here.
I was totally off him. I'm not even kidding. I am not even kidding.
All right.
I was totally off him. And then I read something literally a couple hours ago. He finished as, again, I can't remember where I read it. It was Roto World or Fantasy Pros or something. Or maybe it was Draft Sharks. I don't know. He finished as again, this is non-PPR, but the tight end 12 in non-PPR leagues last year. For as much as he was ridiculed and as much as, as a Roto World blurb, as much as he was ridiculed, he actually had 50 catches for 600 yards and a handful of touchdowns. I mean, he wasn't, given where people drafted him.
3 touchdowns.
Okay, 3, whatever. That's a handful.
Finger.
How many touchdowns can you fit in your hand? I can barely fit 3.
Yeah, 3 or 4.
Well, there you go. It's a handful. And I don't know where he's going right. I should have this up. I need to find a better.
Robbie, what do you think?
I need
a better ADP.
So, but remember, a lot of people, given where he was drafted last year,
he's got to be on super late.
He was such a massive disappointment. Everybody was all ticked off about that. So I think that is
17th round.
No. That's the average positional pick. Oh. So he's going as the 17th tight end off the board in FFPC drafts. So he's the 100th overall pick, which would.
That's not that. I mean, it was the Saints.
Yeah, and he was saying, look, I struggled to learn the offense. It was my first year in it, which, for God's sake, I mean, Drew Brees should be able to make him a stud, even not knowing the offense. The thing that upset me last year was my whole thing was everybody's poo-pooing Kobe Fleener, and he's going to suck. He sucked in Indy. He's going to suck in New Orleans. And I'm just like, man, look at what Ben Watson did. I mean, that guy is nothing. And Drew Brees turned him into one of the best tight ends in the league that year. And I was just convinced, if Drew Brees can do that with Ben Watson, that's the bare minimum for Kobe freaking Fleener with no Jimmy Graham.
Watson's a very educated, intelligent man.
He is.
And not a bad athlete, by the way.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll get a 6th-year breakout out of Kobe Fleener.
He's not going to break out, but his current value in FFPC drafts. I mean, if you wanted it, you could do a lot worse than a second tight end. I don't know if I'd be comfortable drafting as my number 1. I mean, unless I really got screwed in tight end, but as a backup, yeah.
Fleener in 2014, he had let's look at the upside. 51 catches for 774 yards.
Yeah.
15.2 yards per catch and 8 touchdowns. That's when Luck was in. He had a great season.
Yeah.
If Breeze has a great season, it's possible. It really is.
Which Breeze should have a great season.
He should have a great season.
See Michael Thomas bulked up, put on 10 more pounds of weight.
Yep.
220 now.
Wow, he's boss.
He's rocked up.
I might actually draft. I've not been to Michael Thomas. I've never drafted him, but I might actually draft him this year.
Yeah, drafted him in one league last year, and that was only because Matt Schauf's like, look, we need this guy.
I don't love him, but.
Did I tell you Schauf has his own Scott Fishbowl team this year? So I'm on my own.
I've heard.
Did I say this on the show or no?
I don't. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
So he's like, oh, now you can stop giving me all the credit for your great picks. I'm like, I don't have any great picks.
You have probably a couple.
Who'd you rather have this year, Amari Cooper or Michael Thomas?
I like Amari Cooper better.
You like Cooper better. All right. I don't know which one I like.
I think I like Cooper's talent a lot more, so I feel like that's going to shine through.
We didn't really talk about. I mean, we can get into it a little bit now, but one of the things that Rob had on the rub down.
Yes, you're the one with the rub down.
Thinking about my back again. Amari Cooper says he thinks he can be a lot more productive. This was published in CSN Bay Area. He had 1,000 yards in both his first 2 years in the NFL, but he sucked in the last 2 years.
Who are we talking about?
This is Amari Cooper.
Oh, yeah.
He's had 900-yard games. Only 2 of them have come after Week 8, and he averaged 46 yards a game over the final 8 games last season. Now, is this an outlier? Is this a small sample size? Is this something that we're going to expect again this year, where Cooper gets off to the hot start and tails off at the end?
I think he's had 2 seasons. I think that's just coincidence.
Okay. Small sample size. Who knows?
I mean, what
first 2 years in the NFL, too.
Yeah, I mean, the first year, it's like he probably hit the freshman wall or the rookie wall, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And then he had the sophomore slump, and now he's going to have the junior jerk reaction, whatever.
But you are quite the wordsmith, my friend. Just flows off the tongue. So mellifluous.
What?
Mellifluous?
Oh, nice.
Yeah, thank you. See the words flow?
A lot of vocab tonight.
Todd in... Really?
Dachshund.
Oh, yeah. Todd in Copperhill, Georgia. With the emergence of Cameron Brate last year and the fact that O.J. Howard is a rookie, would you just skip drafting either guy this season? Thank you for the email, Todd in Copperhill, Georgia.
And redraft. That's an interesting question, actually.
All right. So I'm not going to tell you where they're going in drafts. I want you to tell me, and then I'll tell you, and then you can tell me if that changes it. Okay. So what do you think? Brate, Howard, or neither? And I guess both would be an option if you wanted to do that.
I would probably look in redraft only. I would probably consider neither, actually. I mean, I hate to do it because I love Howard. Howard was uncoverable, as they say in rookie minicamp.
Yeah.
But rookie tight ends just do not produce. So in redraft, I'm not thinking I'm going to take him. I'm guessing you're going to pay a premium for him because he is O.J. Howard.
Right.
I think Brate's probably pretty cheap, but I think his talent or his, he did well, but he's not pedigreed, and I think that he's going to. I don't think he keeps the job over Howard. I think he gets some playing time, but maybe he'll have like 35 catches or something.
So the perceived discount is still not enough for you to want Brate on your squad.
No.
Okay.
I'd rather even take Fleener.
Listen, take a guess at where they're going in FFPC redraft leagues.
All right, redraft. Right, I would guess Howard goes in the 8th and Brate goes in like the 15th.
Okay.
No idea if I'm right or wrong.
O.J. Howard is at the 905.
That's not too far off. Okay.
Cameron Brate, the 906.
What?
Right to get. So once one of them goes, then the other one's going.
That's what they would say is whack.
Okay, but there's still people that are saying, like, look, Howard's a rookie tight end. We've seen, with the exception of Hunter Henry and Tony Gonzalez, maybe a couple other guys, Antonio Gates, it's largely a redshirt year for rookie tight ends. Cameron Brate showed he could do it last year. Winston likes throwing to him. So there's two schools of thought on this.
Yeah, I mean, Howard could totally have a great rookie season. It's just there's probably like a 5% chance of that even being a highly drafted player.
Right. Yeah, and I agree with you. I probably will not draft either one unless one of them just really falls in. Because you're talking about. I mean, hold on. At least for me, you're talking about in an FFPC league in the 9th round. That's probably backup tight end territory. I'm not taking unless I'm Brian Holgen. I'm not taking my starting tight end in the 9th round.
So okay, last year Hunter Henry, right? You just mentioned him.
Yeah.
So he had this rookie season that people consider to be this great rookie, successful rookie season.
Right.
He had 36 catches for 478 yards and 8 touchdowns. Now, granted, the touchdowns are fantastic.
Right. But remember,
the receptions suck. The yards are terrible. Charles Clay, that's Charles Clay numbers right there, pal.
Yeah, well,
anyone can beat those numbers.
That's Charles Clay in his prime numbers, though.
Hey, Charles Clay is probably better than that last year, I'm telling you.
This posted by Kern Reeve in the chat, according to Michael Fabiano from NFL Network, says 3% of rookie tight ends make up the top 10.
So there you go, 3%. Yeah. So we were pretty close at 5%, just throwing that number out there out of the blue.
That was all you, man. Jesse and
Charles Clay had 57 for 552 and 4 touchdowns last year. So probably about close on a PPR basis.
There you go. Jesse in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Hello, Mike and Brashad. There's been a lot of stuff on Twitter this week about which quote-unquote playmaker is going to be the guy to own in Baltimore. You guys think it's Wallace or Perriman? Keep up the good work. You make my Monday commute a joy. Smiley face. That is Jesse in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I don't know if you saw this, Dave, but there is a lot of stuff posted by a lot of pretty respected writers and analysts out there about why Mike Wallace is this insane value right now in drafts. And then then all of a sudden the Rashad Perriman supporters came out and they're like, hey, look, this is the Perriman year. This is the year he steps up, whatever. So Mike Wallace right now at the 11:07 or Rashad Perriman at the 12:11, which guy would you rather have? And I think by the laughter, you are going to go with Wallace.
I mean, Perriman could do something technically, but he's done like nothing.
Yeah.
I'll take Wallace.
Yeah, I would too. You know what would be a great pairing to do? Well,
Perriman has less hair than Jamal Charles.
Take Cam Meredith in 10th, Mike Wallace in the 11th, and you can get Kevin White in the 13th. There you go. Yeah. Now you got a team, as George Costanza would say. Well, no, it's tough for me to call Meredith or Wallace busts in the 10th and 11th round. I can call Kevin White a bust because we already did. But you can't really, he's not going to bust in the 13th round. He's just cut him, So you like Wallace, I agree. What's up, Balky and Dave? Since Kelvin Benjamin looks more like an offensive tackle, Devin Funchess looking like a bust, and Ted Ginn moving on. He spelled Ted with 2 D's. Is that how you spell Ted? I don't think Ted. 2 D's. T-E-D-D.
1 D, 2 N's.
Moving on.
The Gin has just got the 2 N's.
Right. What pass catchers do you want to own in Carolina this year? That is Jim in Tampa,
Florida.
That's easy. Christian McCaffrey? And nobody else?
McCaffrey, Samuel, and Olsen.
So for redraft, you like Curtis Samuel? I thought you were not necessarily on him.
I don't love him.
I'm not saying love him, but you're on him.
I would consider him. I think he's got to be going insanely late in redraft. Right?
Yeah, I would assume so.
Funchess sucks.
Yeah, I won't own Funchess anywhere.
Benjamin's fat and not really a playmaker.
I'm pretty sure I won't own Benjamin anywhere.
Samuel will play up.
I will own
Samuel
Olsen.
Could be productive out of the slot even as a rookie because he ran a 4.3 140. If it wasn't for Ross going crazy setting the record, people would be talking about how great Curtis Samuel's time was.
Yeah.
And he's a playmaker. He'll get rushing yards too. Actually, they'll pitch it out to him a few times.
309 for Christian McCaffrey. So you're on that.
It's pretty.
Is that too rich?
It's pricey, but
is it?
I would consider him. I think he's going to get 60 catches this year.
Okay.
So yeah, I think he'll be a top 10 PPR back for sure.
Is Christian McCaffrey? We're talking about like a potential ascendant now. FFPC ascendant 2017. Christian McCaffrey.
I guess. It kind of would suck because I've liked him the whole time. So it's kind of just me getting.
Well, okay,
my affection for McCaffrey.
But he's going at the 309. How much higher could he go?
Well, let's see. If he has, let's say, in the first or second game of preseason, he has an 80-yard touchdown catch and has another bunch of great plays, he's going to go in the mid-second round, just like Houston McAllister.
Honestly, he could go higher.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, when those main events roll around,
a pedigreed Danny Woodhead as a rookie, boom, sign me up. Everybody wants it.
Pedigreed Danny Woodhead.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody loves it.
Yeah, Curtis Samuel not even being drafted in classics right now for FFPC. Final email of the night. Who would you rather draft this year, Shady McCoy or Devontae Freeman? Happy Memorial Day, guys. That's Terry in Hopkins, Minnesota. These guys are going roughly in the same part of the first round. LaShawn McCoy, 109 ADP currently. Devontae Freeman has 111 ADP. And I like both of these guys this year. I guess I would probably lean towards Freeman just because of the elite offense that he's in. I like that offense a little bit better. But McCoy's going to be the centerpiece in Buffalo again. So, I wouldn't put it this way. If I was picking at the 10 or 11 and I was zeroed in on one of those two guys and somebody took Freeman in front of me, I'd still be fine with McCoy right after that.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. The fact that I like Freeman because of the fact that their offense really isn't changing and they were successful last year. So I don't see any reason why a person who's been a top 6 running back the last 2 years isn't going to maintain that. So it's a little bit less risk there. With McCoy, you have a brand new offensive coordinator. So I don't know. I still like him. His talent he looks fantastic.
Right.
Still.
Is there anything in the narrative that Freeman's in a contract year and he has Tevin Coleman breathing down his neck as a third-round pick that Atlanta really picked to be the guy and was the guy until he got hurt?
I would say I don't think so because I think that Freeman's going to get that extension before he's going to get that. They're talking about how it just doesn't sound like it's going to be a problem.
All right.
So. Plus,
maybe Tevin Coleman is the guy who will be fired up then.
There is the 10 or 20% chance that McCoy falls off the cliff as of age. And you don't have that with Freeman because he's still 25.
McCoy, to me, always seemed like he was a guy that the wheels are going to fall off earlier because of how heavy Rex Ryan used him and how much he was used in Philly. And he came, didn't he come into the league super young too? Yeah, I feel like he was really young.
21.
Yeah, I mean. So, I don't know.
I love McCoy's game. It's so much fun to watch.
Yeah, and I'd still be on board with him, but I'm with you. I would rather have Freeman. That is going to do it for our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank Dave Strand. I want to thank Dave Gerzak, the FFPC, Rob Bryce, and, of course, each and every one of you for tuning in on this holiday weekend to listen to our show. A special happy birthday to Colts fan Wayne Ellis. It's his birthday today. I believe he turns the ripe old age of 32. So happy birthday
32.
To Colts fan. Make your Planet Hollywood reservations right now, ladies and gentlemen, with the using the FFPC code. Sign up for the main event at myffpc.com. It'll be the last show we do before the main event early bird expires. Save $100. Best deal you're going to get all year. Draft now with the satellites and dynasty leagues we have going on at myffpc.com. Ryan Santos, $25,000 FFPC winner, on the show next Thursday. Our show will be on Thursday, not Friday next week. Thursday show. Scott Engel and the Fantasy Hall of Fame Hour is up next on Fantasy Sports Radio Network. Happy Memorial Day weekend starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com that was broadcast live and heard around the world. Eric and Dave will be back next week with more analysis, interviews, and advice from a guest much smarter than they are. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again next week.
Him again, the sound the engine in is like a bird. You see fireworks, the Corvette tires skirt the boulevard. I know how you work, I know just who you are. See, use a bitch, your hormones probably switch inside your DNA.
Hey, I'm just realizing this. I missed an email.
Yeah, what's up?
Jack in Bakersfield, California. Corey Coleman or Kenny Britt this year? Corey Coleman, 10.06. Kenny Britt, 12.11.
Coleman.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
For
so
me,
you're still paying for Coleman.
Sure, absolutely.
I might like Britt better.
All right. Hey, 5 on it.
Do we dare make an I got 5 on it?
Let's go right now, quick.
I got 5 on Kenny Britt beating out Corey Coleman for fantasy
points.
All right,
I'll take CC, Corey Coleman.
How much do you have on it?
5, dummy.
Luna's closing out the show.
A seatbelt can stop you from going into a store. A seatbelt can stop you from climbing a tree. It can stop you from flying or from rolling down a hill. A seatbelt can stop you from doing a lot of things, like crushing bones and damaging vital organs. It can even save your life. That's why we enforce seatbelt laws, to save lives. So buckle up every trip, every time. Click it or ticket. Paid for by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Attention outlet shoppers. Right now, save 50 to 70% off everything for the family at Gap Factory stores and online. With shorts from $14.99 and tees from $6.99. And save 50 to 70% off everything at Banana Republic Factory stores and online. With an extra 50% off clearance and dresses for women starting at $19.99. Hurry! Search our store locator for your nearest Gap Factory and Banana Republic Factory store or shop us online.